say strap on your seatbelts and get ready to take a ride with us.
Welcome to the Blueprint Podcast, where we deliver a blueprint to success in every single episode. Today, we have the one and only with a crazy story that you guys better stay tuned and pay attention to. The amazing, from all the way up the hill in like the Victorville area, we call it the high desert, the one, the only, Ulyses.
Hey, thank you for having me on the show.
Awesome. Did I say it correct?
Yeah. Ulysses. Ulysses.
Ulyses. Ulysses?
Ulysses.
Ulyses.
Ulysses.
Okay. How many people say it wrong and how many people say it right?
Hey, it's very common, but it's not a common name, right?
Very.
So Ulysses actually derives from the Greek name Odysseus. If some of you out there know Homer's The Iliad, the Odyssey, that's actually where my name derives from Odysseus.
Awesome. That's amazing. That's amazing. That story was shared through your mother, family member, father.
Father, actually, he's the one that named me. Very, very knowledgeable in his history, loves Roman and Greek mythology. And he just decided to name me after a Greek god.
Sounds like a very interesting individual.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Uh-huh.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, what is that relationship?
As it relates to
Your father?
Yeah, my father. Yeah, that's a good question. I think that over the years, it has been a work in progress.
Okay.
My father, when I was, as a child in my younger years and growing up in my adolescence, he's a working man. So, he wasn't always at home. It was my mother who mostly raised me, and I have a younger sister. And why I say it's a work in progress in my relationship with my father is because ever since my father came to the faith, so a little background before he was a Christian man of faith, he was a drunk and didn't make a lot of good decisions. And as a result, it put our family into several struggles. But when he came to the faith, which on a different note, it's a major part of my life. So God is a big part of my life on that note. But back to my father, a lot of things started changing for good, for the better. And that really helped in my relationship with him. And more so his relationship with me, being a father, fathering his son.
And you were able to receive that?
Yes, of course.
A lot of people don't. A lot of people don't let that happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's also an element of forgiveness. And I think that's important in every relationship. We're human beings. We got to remember that we make mistakes. And everyone makes mistakes. At some point in time, nobody's perfect. We miss the mark. But if we can see the good in people and forgive, I think that not only will it make us better people or better persons, but I think that the world can become better and become difference makers in the world.
I agree with that. So just to give us a little synopsis on that, and the reason why I touch on that is because this is a very similar story for a lot of individuals, a lot of young men, a lot of young women, with one of the parents not being there. And that can go a long way because the parent could be in the same household but not be there, right? So as a kid, was he like a father to you in your mind as a kid? And then as you become like a teenager, you realize that there's something missing. And then once you become a man, a young man, you found a place for forgiveness and to try to have some understanding. Is that how it took place? Or
I think you hit it right on the nail. When I was a kid, I thought he was a good father. As I was growing up, obviously, I gained more maturity. I grew in stature and in wisdom. And now as a man, looking back at my childhood, obviously I'm more aware of things. I think more of as an adult, as opposed to a young child or adolescent or young adult.
Mm-hmm.
And also because of my experiences, a lot of the things that I've gone through, a lot of struggles, trials and tribulations that have gotten me to the place of where I am right now, that I look back at my childhood and my father, some of the things that he did, what seemed right to me, well, now I see as like, hey, buddy, you missed the mark right there.
Yeah.
And that's actually not a good characteristic of a father. But thank God that I'm aware of it and that I see it now, because that I'm not going to do. So I'm actually going to do the opposite of that, what you did.
Absolutely. In the same tone, you have a level of understanding as well, maybe the situation. And it's not necessarily making an excuse for an individual, but there still could be a understanding of what someone may have been going through, what those stresses were, looking back when he was maybe in his mid-30s, and you can kind of relate to a degree and say, I can see how someone can end up there. Again, not making an excuse for an individual, but we see people even doing what some of those actions were even in today's time, right? And it could have been worse. So I have a question in regards to efforts. And I played a little bit of basketball, a little bit of high school basketball, and a little bit of junior college basketball in my earlier years. And there's a statement that is used, and I think it's used not only in sports, it's used in pretty much anything that someone puts a lot of effort into and they have a deep passion about. And the saying goes, you haven't tried until you cried.
That's deep.
How do you receive that?
I think there's an element of truth there. So what I heard is you said you haven't tried, or you haven't tried until you cried. It sounds like to me that if you haven't been stretched enough or challenged enough, are you really trying? I think it's something to examine within ourselves. With that statement, are we trying if we're not being challenged or stretched?
Whatever the situation is, right?
Yes.
So whether it's on our fitness, ooh, I need it, or in our relationships, right?
Yes.
In whatever business that one is,
Definitely. I think it can be applied to all aspects of life, right? Business, relationships, fitness, finances. It can be applied to, I think, all aspects of life. Yeah.
So you gave us a little bit of your background with your father in that relationship. If you were to put it into a jar, how would you share your background with someone? What is that background?
Wow. Well,
and I know it's much deeper than a jar, right? We can't package our life and put it in a jar, but if you wanted to give someone.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. And I think what I would say is Christ. If I can package it in just, one thing, or as you said, put it in one jar, and what I would label it, what that label would say in that jar, it would say Jesus Christ. So as I mentioned before, God plays a big role in my life.
Mm-hmm. Has it always been that way?
It wasn't always that way. I'll tell you a little bit of a background story. At the age of 8 is when I started going to church. And this church was a Christian church. As I mentioned, my father at the time, he was always working. He was a drunk, come home, but not really have that spend that quality time with his children.
Mm-hmm. But he came home.
Right. And my mother was going through some struggles with him as well. And so she was seeking something different. She was seeking help. And
they were around the age of what?
At this time, probably mid-30s. My father, mid-30s. My mother in her late 20s. And
battling the reality of actually being an adult, but still young, but not old.
Right.
But still responsibilities and can't.
Yep.
Okay.
And
you're how old right now?
How old do you think I look like?
I don't know, man. You look young.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, if I were just shooting in the dark, I would say your early 20s, but.
Ooh, I appreciate that. I'll take it. Yeah. No, actually, this year, I'm thankful that I'll be turning 35.
Wow.
Another year of life. And
amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can relate now because you're around the same age that your father was at this time.
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Go ahead. Didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to get
in a sense, look, listen, everybody has their own experiences. I will say this, that everybody navigates through life differently. Everybody goes through their own experiences in their own context, right? I'm not trying to say, or what I'm about to say, I'm not trying to say that I completely understand my father, but I have a notion. I have an idea of what he might have gone through.
Okay.
So furthermore, to say what I was going to say is that faith has been a big part of my life. Not always. I grew up in the church. I, learned about God, learned about Christ. But at the age of 18, I kind of went my own way because I had a lot of questions. Just like anybody, I think at some point has questions about the existence of God, has questions about who Jesus Christ is and was he real? And, the things about what the Bible says. And look, I get it. I was there. Mm-hmm. I had these questions. Mm-hmm. I had these, kind of swaying from one end to another. And I just decided to go off the path that I believe God had me in the very beginning, because everybody has a purpose in life. Mm-hmm. We're all put here on this earth for a purpose. And that's where my faith is. That's where I'm at. Now I know that there's a lot of different ideas and concepts out there, different religions, different faiths, but we're talking about the Christian faith here. We're talking about the God of the Bible. And so for me, I went off track at the age of 18. I played football my whole life, Pop Warner, Junior All-American, high school, and even 2 years after high school, I played at in JUCO, junior college. After that, things were not going my way. Things were kind of going off track, hanging out with the wrong crowd, making bad decisions. So I needed a way out. And I think at this point, my redemption was to start something new, something fresh. And that was for me to join the Marine Corps.
Okay.
In 2009, December 15, 2009 was when I went to boot camp. And that right there alone changed my entire life, changed my entire course of life, because I became a Marine, and my job, as some of y'all out there may know, this military language, my MOS was being an 0311. And what that is being an infantry rifleman. So yes, I knew that when I signed up, that there was a possibility that I was going to deploy into a combat environment. And I did. That was my first deployment. My first deployment was to Sangin, Afghanistan, a place where at the time there was a lot of fighting with the Taliban. And a lot of us didn't make it back home. A lot of injuries, a lot of KIAs, which in military terms, that's killed in action. And so coming back from that, a lot of trauma, but also I had a second deployment, and that was to Okinawa, Japan, where we did military operations, combat operations in the Pacific Theater. And that was a different experience, but nevertheless, I don't discount the fact that I was away from home.
Mm-hmm.
I don't discount the fact that still, even in that deployment, it had its own struggles, trials and tribulations.
They were different.
That were different. And finally, I completed that deployment, came back home, back to the States, and I ended my contract, just a 4-year contract. And then I decided to get out.
So you had 2 deployments in 4 years?
Yes, 2 deployments in 4 years. Now, mind you, I want to circle back to my faith. At this time, I was not trusting in God. I had nothing to do with the church, nothing to do with...
You've seen a lot.
Yeah, nothing to do with a faith-based community. Just, I didn't want anything to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And for various reasons, right?
Absolutely.
So coming back from that, obviously, I think I needed a lot of healing from a lot of PTSD, obviously. A lot of hurt, a lot of disappointments, a lot of betrayal, regrets, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
And fast forward.
Doing things that you wouldn't have normally done.
Right. I mean, it really affected me, in all aspects, and, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and even physically.
Not to cut you off on that. That's a whole different type of mental trigger that you have to deploy within yourself in order to do some things that you wouldn't have done because it's the job. And I'm only speaking of that because my uncle was a non-vet, and he was a medic in Nam. And so when he came back, he said that was the last time he would ever get on the airplane, the last time he ever got on the airplane. And he didn't share no stories with us, and I'm pretty sure for good reason, and so I have a lot of deep emotion for you guys. You know what I mean? And that's just being honest. I've never been put in a situation like that, and I wouldn't want anyone to have to deal with that. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So absolutely. Sorry to cut you off on that.
Yeah, no. And really those things that I went through, those trials and tribulations and struggles, I mean, my life was a train wreck. I really needed help. And it was in those moments where God encountered me. And these encounters were supernatural. These are my own experiences, where it is undeniable for me to deny the fact that God exists. It is in those moments, those dark, deep moments, where I was stuck in a hole, no way out, in my mind, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, everything, just stuck, where I got to the point where I asked myself, is it even worth it to be here on this earth? Is it even worth it? I done lost too much already. I don't want to continue to suffer. I don't want to experience this pain, hell on earth. What some people might call it, hell on earth. And I wanted to take my life. And a lot of people don't know that. Great depression hit me. Not just depression, but a bunch of other things that were dragging. I dragged along with me throughout my experiences. But it was in those moments, what I really want to emphasize is that in those moments is when God met me, is when God encountered me. His Holy Spirit descended and met me there in my room. And that's another story to tell for another time. But that's why I value my relationship with God. I value the community of my faith, the faith-based believers, but really anybody, I encourage you, If you don't have a faith, get one. Really, I think a big principle or a purpose for all of us here on this earth is two things: love God and love your neighbor as yourself. I think that if we do that,
meaning just the individual that's beside you in whatever situation that you may be
in a sense, I'm talking in general now, just in general. I think those two principles really can help a lot to make this world better. And so I hope that I was able to answer your question. Absolutely.
So what is on the other side that people don't know about you? And because you shared a lot of people, I'm sure, within your community understand who you are, a bit of who you are, maybe not all, but and not to the depth, but they know where you come from, what you represent, and who you stand for. What is something that someone may not know? And it could be deep, it could be dark, it could be fun, it could be light. What is something that people who see you all the time just don't know about you?
I'm actually not that serious. Yeah, I'm not that serious. I think at first when people meet me, they might get the impression that, oh man, this guy's too serious, or what's up with this guy, guys, I'm really not that serious. Once you get to know me, very down to earth, very chill. I would like to think that I'm a very fun person to hang out with.
Right on. The people that are close to you, like your close friends and family, what is on the top 3 that you would regularly do, that you guys would just randomly go do and have fun?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. Family. You mean now or?
Yeah. Like next weekend.
I really can't think of one off the top of my head, but if I were to say one activity that I don't feel shy about inviting my family to, is the movie theater. I really enjoy watching movies, and, I would invite them, hey, let's just go chill and watch a movie and just hang out.
Are you getting popcorn, slushy? What are we getting?
Popcorn, slushy, red vines.
Sour Patch?
Maybe Sour Patch.
All right. So what is your take on coaches? And with you being in the real estate industry, with you serving, and with you being a collegiate athlete and a high school athlete, a youth athlete, all through.
What is my take on coaches?
Yeah.
I think that coaches are good. I think in any industry, coaches are good. My wife, shout out to my wife, Shantae. She's actually a life coach herself.
Okay.
And she does it as a profession.
Okay.
And, she helps people, in whatever area or spectrum that they're in, whatever profession that they're in, or even just in their own personal life. The results are that things get better. So I'd say overall coaches are important, and it could be a missing element to maybe a company, an industry, a relationship, whatever it may be.
So with social media in our today's environment, there's tons of coaches. It seems like anyone could go to YouTube University for a couple weeks and come out the other end and they are a coach. How valuable is that? I mean, because there's good coaches, bad coaches, and everything in between, correct?
Of course.
Right? So a bad coach can say that an athlete is not great. That's a great athlete, right? I mean, the wrong coach could have said that Dennis Rodman is a horrible player. So how is that deciphered? How is that determined? Who's gauging that?
Comes down to the individual, I think.
The player or the coach? Or the support team?
That's a good question. I think all three. Yeah, that's a good question. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
That there could be good coaches, bad coaches.
Yeah. Because a bad coach can take a player, put them in the wrong position anywhere. Hockey, basketball, football, baseball, because they're not paying attention or paying attention to the incorrect thing. The reason why I bring that up is because in the real estate space, there's tons of coaches. And sometimes coaching and motivational speakers get intertwined. And sometimes people are paying for what they think is coaching and they're not receiving anything. It's very likely in the real estate space, which is, I know that you are I guess some would say newer to the real estate space. You're a 2-year, 3-year realtor. How many years?
Yeah, so I've had my license now for about 8 years, going on 8 years.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Oh, no, hey, I'm under a decade. I guess you can call that still fairly new.
Absolutely not. 8 years. I think that you've done a fair amount.
And so, I'm really happy with the brokerage that I'm at, which, by the way, shout out to REMAX Freedom up in the high desert.
Right on.
They really do a phenomenal job in arming their real estate agents with not only the tools, but the knowledge and the training that is needed to continue day in and day out. I would call it operations, but that's military terms. But yeah, to carry out and conduct real estate transactions. And so one of the things that I really like about being a part of REMAX Freedom is that they really arm me with a wealth of knowledge, and I don't work alone. I have people there that care, a team, if I may call it, with a wealth of knowledge and over 30 plus years of experience. And so that gives me a whole lot of confidence than just saying, oh, I've only been in the industry for 8 years, licensed for 8 years, just under a decade, right? But no, I don't work alone. I work with a team. I work with real estate agents that care about one another, care about the success of one another, a brokerage that cares. And I'm really lifting up REMAX Freedom here. And so I'm really happy about that. I think for a new realtor or a new real estate agent, I can speak for myself. Everybody's on a different journey.
Mm-hmm.
But what I can say is that the important thing for me when I was a new realtor was the support.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you've been with them for how long?
Just last year.
Okay.
So I would say over a year now.
And then you were with who prior?
I started with Keller Williams, which again, Keller Williams did a phenomenal job in bringing me up, raising me up as a new real estate agent. And that's, they do a phenomenal job at that.
And you were there for how long?
I was there since the beginning.
Oh,
since
awesome.
My inception of this real estate career.
So from Keller Williams to REMAX, what can you point out that you have experienced different?
Community.
Okay.
A community of realtors, community of real estate agents that they're both good.
Yeah.
They both offered a wealth of knowledge and experience. But I think at some point, right, when you're a new real estate agent, again, I speak for myself, you're new, you don't know much, but then you start learning, you start gaining knowledge, you start building more relationships, you start expanding your network, and you start meeting other people. And you begin to, now what happened with me is hone in on my real estate goals.
Yep.
Because at first, in the beginning, and
finding yourself, if you will.
Yes, as a new real estate agent. And that was tough. So I had to navigate through that. I had to figure out, what's the direction that I want to go to as a real estate agent.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
Which only happens in practice.
Correct. Yes, doing it. It's not enough to just know.
Yeah.
But getting out there and doing it. And creating the time for it, of course.
So you made the change because
better opportunities, and then at this time and season of my life, better fit for me and my household, better fit for my goals, my real estate goals.
Okay, that works.
I mean, it's a whole lot, right?
Because the reason why I asked that is because obviously for anybody that's newly licensed, you get bombarded in the mail, right?
Right.
With every single brokerage. And one only knows whatever's top of mind. So whatever they drive by, whatever they see, or somebody that they may have known. And it's almost like the top, group of brokerages that everyone knows: Century 21, REMAX, Keller Williams. And so, I mean, most people would just think that all of them are kind of good. It's like, are you driving a Toyota, a Honda? It's like, I don't know, both of them are pretty good. You see some that are maybe 30 years old on the road, still going, look good, right? Kind of any, mini, mighty, mo. But one of the things that I've learned and that I understand is it's not the name on the brokerage. It's whatever your support system is, whatever that community is, and what they can do to help you with your journey individually. And I think that that's what a lot of people, after a little tenure, they find out, obviously with, in practice and after doing some things. And I think that they learn, okay, I need this and I need a little bit of that over there. And then you ended up, I'm assuming, meeting someone at REMAX and having those conversations. And
yes.
Saying, hey, you know what? That looks like a fit.
Yes.
Absolutely. So those that are on this journey of success, right? First of all, there's some that think that the success journey is a destination, and some don't understand that it is the journey. Finding success in the process. And the reason why I touch on this is because some would say that they need to make this journey single, and some say that they would need to make it in a relationship. So you being who you are and going through what you've been through and having a clear understanding from both ends of the spectrum, would you say that a young man, 20 years old, should make this journey single or make it in a relationship?
Well, help me to understand the question a little bit better. Do you mean single as it relates to, of course, the person being by themselves without another partner? And furthermore, do you mean in a relationship as it relates to being with an actual partner?
Being with an actual partner.
Okay. I would say no. You start your journey right where you're at, whether you're single or you have a partner.
Okay.
You're in a relationship.
So you would say operate in the best space for you to have the maximum amount of focus?
I said right where the individual is, whatever that may look like, and however that support may look like for that individual.
See, because I asked this because there's some people that may be in a relationship and they may have a vision, and then their partner doesn't have that vision, doesn't align, and it may even get spoken down on. And this person could have a great vision that is going to help others and improve their situation there, as far as for that individual and their partner, he or her. But the partner doesn't have the vision, doesn't understand it, nor any of that. They probably don't really care about it because they don't see an importance in it and how it's going to benefit them, which I think is a lot to do with someone sharing opinion or having a difference of opinion with their partner's passion or vision. And with that being said, sometimes people need to travel that path alone or find one that aligns or sees their vision, which goes into the conversation of like separation or putting their vision on the back burner or tucking it on the side or even throwing it in the trash to appease someone else that may not have the vision or nor have the comprehension of what that vision can actually do to their situation and to the world.
I think we can really take a deep dive into what we're leading into right now. But from my understanding, we're leading into a topic of purpose and destiny. And just to give you an idea, it matters who you choose. It matters who you choose as a partner, because everyone has a purpose. Everyone on earth has a purpose. And furthermore, I'm going to correlate this to the Bible. And what I want to say just a little bit, just to touch on this, is that God created you, me, everyone here with a purpose. And God also created somebody else that is meant to be for you. Now, of course, we have the choice of whether to accept this individual or not, to go on this journey with you, go on this journey with us. That's going to ultimately cause success or bring fruition to flourishing in life. And ultimately, those goals, and as it relates to real estate, come to pass, come to fruition. So that's it. I think it matters who you choose. Don't just choose anybody. And if that individual doesn't have the same vision as you, I would say it doesn't have to necessarily be that the individual needs to have the same vision as you, but at least the support and understand God's purpose for your life and where God wants to take you as it relates to the real estate journey, as it relates to what he wants you to do in the industry.
And if that individual really doesn't support the other person, what are they supposed to do?
Well, now we get into a topic that's even deeper, right? These are good questions.
Okay. All right.
I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Well, we had a beautiful conversation. Once again, this is series 1. So we're going to have multi-series here with Ulyses.
Yes, sir. You got that. You got it right.
Let's go. Let's go. Absolutely. So this is going to conclude series number 1. And I don't know where this series is going to take us, but it seems like we have a lot to talk about.
I would say strap on your seatbelts and get ready to take a ride with us.
Absolutely. So I believe you're going to have more conversations with me and others that you are going to bring on for your platform.
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Once again, the Blueprint Podcast, where we deliver a blueprint to success in every single episode. I think this one's going to be a movie, so stay tuned.